Sophie, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for being with us on PM News.
Good afternoon, Alicia.
Sophie, the SADC meeting comes at a time when the region is busy trying to install peace and stability in Lesotho. Tell us more.
Yes, you'd recall that last week the Deputy President of the Republic, who is the mediator in Lesotho, went to Lesotho after the death of the former commander of Lesotho, Ntate Maparanko Mahau, and which led to tensions in that country. Therefore, it was imperative for the Deputy President to go back there to find out what happened and perhaps to come and advise SADC in terms of what needs to be done, because you'll recall that he is supposed to present a final report, or he was supposed to present a final report in terms of his mediation role in Lesotho, and he did that last week Friday, giving a report of what transpired since he was appointed up to when he was finally going down there in Lesotho to close the SADC mission after the election and the installation of a new government. But then came this unfortunate incident.
So if we look, the East Africa community leaders will be meeting in Tanzania later today to discuss another thorny issue here of Burundi.
Yes, Burundi is in a serious crisis. They have recalled the envoy, United Nations envoy, because the UN has made it clear that the parliamentary elections which took place last week, they don't kind of see it as being a fair and a just process, and therefore putting into question members of parliament who have been elected. But then since then, the president of Burundi is going ahead with elections next week on the 16th. The presidential election will take place, and today he was out and about campaigning, and oppositions have decided to boycott the elections. The AU has distanced itself from the elections, and now we are waiting to hear the regional body, EAC, East Africa Community meeting today. It's taking place in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, where the leaders in the East Africa region will be discussing this issue, and it remains to be seen whether the leadership of the East Africa region will agree with Nkurunziza in terms of going to the elections, or what will be the message. But it's going to be a challenging one. You know that President Paul Kagame is challenging the third term. President Museveni in Uganda is doing the same. President Kabila is doing the same. So it's a tricky one for the region in particular. And with Nkurunziza, he is arguing that in terms of the constitution, he is allowed to do so, because the first term wasn't really a one-man vote. It was the parliamentary decision for him to lead an interim government. But with these three, they have been elected. This will be the third term contesting elections. Therefore, I don't see them standing up and saying to Nkurunziza, don't avail yourself for the third term. So it is a difficult one for President Jikai Kikwete, who's the chair of the region. So we'll see.
Very interesting indeed. Now the BRICS summit will also get underway this Wednesday. What can we expect, Sophie?
Well, it's a very interesting one, particularly for South Africa. You are aware that tomorrow foreign ministers of member countries will meet, and also tomorrow an announcement will be made in terms of board of governors for the BRICS Bank. You know, the BRICS Bank that we've been talking about, and finally it's happening, and South Africa will be represented in that structure, and we are looking forward to hear the name of the person who will be part of the board members of that bank. And then on Wednesday, heads of states will be meeting. President Jacob Zuma will be there, and they will be discussing further relations and also ensuring that member countries improve on economic perspective, but also politically looking at the geopolitics. And this comes at a time where you have this crisis in Greece. Therefore, Europe is having serious crisis. Will BRICS be a messiah? The IMF is losing credibility. The World Bank is losing credibility. Will the BRICS Bank come up and assist, particularly the poor countries and the developing countries? Because when you look at the World Bank and the IMF, it has been a serious problem how they deal with smaller countries and other continents. You know, you look at how they treat America, it's quite different, but when you look at countries such as Malawi, you know, they were given heavy burden in terms of dealing with the debts. And now you have Greece, and they are handling issues in a different way. They allowed Greece to have a referendum, something that they wouldn't do with other smaller countries. So it's a big one, all eyes in Russia currently. And I guess also it's a platform for President Putin to show off, because he is facing serious challenges, in Europe and with the US.
Thank you so much for coming, Sophie. That's our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, joining us in studio with a look at the SADC meeting and other gatherings on the African soil. To Nigeria.